Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
For centuries, ancient cultures knew the secrets to longevity, vitality, and healing. Now, modern science is catching up. Ageless Blueprint is a podcast that will reveal the modern secrets of better health and a better life. Join Dr. Eldred Taylor here today and every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on W4HC Radio at W4HC.com. As together we discover the secrets to better health through science and spirituality. A better life with Ageless Blueprint starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
Hello again. Hello, and welcome back to the Ageless Blueprint. And I am the Spiritual MD, and I am so excited to be here this morning. This is my Wednesday morning get up and go. I'm excited the whole week to see what I can help deliver to you that can help you in your life. So, I call myself the Spiritual MD, and let me tell you how I got to that point. Back in October, I just really went through a life change and took this course called Reality Creator, and it taught me that I can create my own reality. And so anyway, through a little self-discovery, it was talking about, what do you really, really want? And I wanted to be more connected to something greater than me. All right. So I stumbled upon on YouTube something called the Kemetic science. And what it is, it's the science of spirituality that started back in ancient Egypt. And that's what sparked me. I got a spark. And my wife was also looking at going to Egypt. We had talked about going to Egypt like 10 years ago, but there was some unrest there. And so we didn't go. So we always thought that we needed to go to Egypt. So anyway, so we were both kind of on one accord, and we went to Egypt, and it was a life-changing experience. And over there, I learned about this. It's called the Ankh. And when you look at the hieroglyphics, they always have the Ankh in their hand. And for the pharaohs and the kings are for what they call the initiates, the ones who knew the mysteries of life, you would see them pointing it toward their mouth, or they would be pointing it toward them like they were giving them the keys to life. And the key to life is being connected to the spirit. These pharaohs, they had knowledge, and it seemed like it was knowledge from the heavens. It was knowledge that other people didn't know. And those are the mysteries. And life is a mystery. And when we all love mysteries. I love mysteries. And so you always want to be surprised, and you always want to be learning something new. In a mystery, you find out who killed the person or whatever. So this is talking about the mysteries of life and knowing the mysteries of life. And so that's what the Spiritual MD is all about. So I just wanted to explain that. And that's why we talk about in the opening, it's all this ancient stuff, because I forgot who the philosopher is, but it says that if you want new ideas, you ought to read old books. And so one of the oldest books is those hieroglyphics. That's a message that has tried to be transmitted for over 10,000 years. So I've been reading old books. I've been studying old philosophy, and you get all of these new ideas. And so, and let me tell you another reason why I thought about Spiritual MD. So I'm following all these people on YouTube to help me understand quantum physics, because quantum physics helps to explain spirit. And hopefully we'll get to talk more about that. And I talk about that in my my school course. But anyway, so I'm following people like Bruce Lipton, who's talking about spirit, and he's a cell biologist. Teresa Bullitt on mystery teachings, and that's what I'm into now. She's a physicist, a quantum physicist, and she's talking about the importance of spirit. I follow Joe Dispenza, who's a chiropractor who talks about spirit. Greg Braden, who wrote the book Purely Human, that I'm going to do a whole video series on. He's a geologist, so he talks about electromagnetic fields and Earth. And so all these scientists are talking about spirit. So I consider myself a scientist. I was brought up in a Christian home with my dad being a Baptist minister, but I'm also a scientist. And so I want to understand it on a scientific level, and that's how I'm trying to explain it to you. But that's what my new endeavor is. And you always need to have a spark, something that you're trying to learn, something that you're trying to discover. Because I put in a daily post in the school group, is that you're never too old to grow. I have a garden, and it's just, if you really want to understand growth, then you want to see how the plants, they always are growing up and out, up and out. They don't really follow a straight line. When I go out to my garden, I'm surprised. I'm like, wow, man, these cucumbers, they just grew. Okay, they grew up and out, and they seem to, as they expand, they grow faster. And that's how you should look at your life, is that as you grow, you should expand. And I think a lot of times as we get older, we contract. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. We can't contract. You have to always expand. The universe is expanding. If you look at the trees outside, they're expanding. The rose bushes, they're expanding. So nature normally is designed to expand. And we have to understand we're a part of nature. So we ought to always be expanding. That's how you become ageless. So if you can pull up the slides, we're going to have some slides today. And I think once you put them up, I can control them. Is that right, Rebel?
That is correct. And unfortunately, you talk about expanding. The only thing that's expanding is my waistline, doctor. Help me.
Yeah, well, we'll work on that. I really think spirit's involved in that too. And if we get our spirit right, our weight gets right, everything gets right once we get fully aligned. And so it takes, hey, this is a lifelong process, and there's some mountains and some valleys, so we have to be comfortable in both places. And we need to always know, hey, when we have this little hiccup in the road, it's just a matter of getting realigned, and we can get back on the path that we want. So we'll work on some things about your weight, Rebel. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that behind the scenes, okay? So, all right. So the 7 myths that are making you age faster, and that's the last thing we want to do. You're gonna age anyway, okay? And there's a song that says, everybody wants to live forever, but nobody wants to grow old. And I'm like that. Hey, man, that should be my theme song, is that everybody wants to live forever, but nobody wants to grow old. So we're going to try and figure out how we can do that, not grow old. And when you understand and get connected with your spirit and the spirit, you will find out that your spirit does live forever. We just don't want our body to grow old prematurely. So anyway, so let's go. Let me see how I control these slides. I think I'll do it this way. All right. So the myth, you can't change your DNA. So why try? Many believe aging patterns are predetermined by genetics, making anti-aging efforts futile. Well, that is not true. Okay. Only 10 to 15% of aging is genetic. Scientific research shows that genetic factors play a surprisingly small role in how we age. So we need to stop talking about, oh, my mom had hypertension, so I'm going to have hypertension. My mom had breast cancer, so I'm going to have breast cancer. My dad was an alcoholic. It was in his genes, so I'm going to be an alcoholic. Stop saying that. Stop looking at your past history and thinking that's what's going to happen. My dad had hypertension, but he lived in a whole different age than I did. He was in World War II. He grew up in a segregated South. He did not have access to proper health care. So his hypertension got worse and worse and worse. It destroyed his kidneys, and he was on dialysis, and he passed away at age 69. And if you look, I'm going to be 65 in August. If you look at a picture of my father and you look at a picture of me at 65, and I will, believe me, we look totally different. I grew up in a different age. Okay. I didn't have the stresses. I didn't go to war. I did not live in a purely segregated South. I did not feel like I was held back from what I wanted to do. So I have a different perspective. I have a different mindset. So you're not genetically determined to be a certain way. All right. So you have control. Your lifestyle, your mindset, and your environment shape your aging. That's what I'm talking about. My dad had a different lifestyle. He had a different mindset. He had a different environment. And so he aged differently. All right. Same way with my mom. Daily choices like nutrition, sleep, stress management, and physical activity dramatically impact your biological age. And that's why I've been talking about stress so much, because when you're under stress, it throws off your whole biologic system. It makes it where you can't sleep. You don't eat properly. You either eat late or you eat fast foods. It decreases your physical activity because either you're tired or you're stressed out doing things. All right. So it's epigenetics. Epigenetics means there's things above your genes. Your your genes are just a suggestion box. Okay. You don't have a gene for cancer. You don't have a gene for hypertension. You do not have a gene for diabetes. You can have an environment that increases your likelihood of all of these, the way you eat, your stress, your environment. And this is true. If you go to other countries, they have different diseases based on what their environment, what their stress is like, or whatever. I'll tell you, people we have some doctors that came from India that I know, and they said there's no such thing as colon cancer over there. You know why? Because in their environment, they always make fresh yogurt every day. And it's just a custom there that they make their own yogurt and they eat it every day. Well, they're feeding their GI system every day. And so they very, very rarely have colon cancer. When they came here and saw this, they were like, what is it? Okay. So your environment, your culture, it will determine what type of diseases you're susceptible to and which ones you're not susceptible to. So if you understand that and know that, you can change all of these factors, your stress, your environment, your lifestyle. You can change all of those and it will change how your genes are expressed. Okay? You understand that, Rebel?
I certainly do. Definitely do.
Yeah, it's not so, stop blaming it on your genes, stop blaming it on your mom or your grandmother or whatever. Now, there's certain characteristics like how tall you are and color your hair and how your nose is shaped and how your eyes are positioned. Those are some genetic factors that have developed over thousands of years. So, okay, so those are certain, so that's that 10 or 15% that you can't control. But the other you can control. All right. So myth number 2. Now, if you're watching this, you probably already understand that this is a myth. All right. That if you are sick, that you need to take more pills. Well, we know that the only thing that does is just suppress the symptoms. And that is to me, that's the goal of the pharmaceutical industry. They want to suppress the symptoms for 24 hours so that you need the pill the next day. Okay, or they want to suppress it for 3 months. Now they're doing some of these longer acting pills because they know it's hard for people to do something every day. So what they do is they make it where it's every 2 months or 3 months, but there's a limit to how long they can suppress the symptoms. Now, if we have a better approach that, hey, what is causing my natural state of health to be out of balance? Okay, something is disrupting this natural flow because, you look at trees and things, they grow and it's uninterrupted. Okay, so my natural state is to grow and expand. What's making me contract? What's making me not have energy? So there's something going on. And if we can get that back in line, we are going to not have to take something every day. We're back in balance now. And then we can go on and live a more fulfilling life. All right. This is probably the number one reason why people come and see me in the office is fatigue. Okay. So some people say it's just a part of being old. And I was believing that for a while. But when I got this spark of, hey, I'm going to learn how to be ageless and I'm going to teach other people that, I'm going to learn what the mysteries and the keys to having a fulfilling life, to live life to the fullest, to live it more abundantly. And once I started thinking like that, all of a sudden I got more energy. I'll tell you the other thing that happened is that I started remembering what my dad was reciting every Sunday, that First Corinthians 13th chapter, when it said faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. Now, this is, this gets into all of the spirit stuff, but the spirit of love is the spirit of God. And that is the spirit of quantum physics. Now, again, I don't want to take you too far too fast because this is a lot for me to digest. And if I tell somebody else or try and explain it to somebody else, it helps me to understand it better. Okay. So when you do things out of love, you have extra strength. Okay. It's just like the mother who can lift a car up because they love their child so much that they have this superhuman strength because they're doing it from a basis of love. If you do things out of obligation or you do things out of resentment, you have no energy. It depletes you. But if you do things because you love what you're doing, it gives you energy. I love this. I get energy when I think about what I'm going to do in the podcast. I get energy when I think about developing this school group because I think it's going to have an impact on people and help them get reattached to their spirit. And then that's where their purpose grows and it expands. People were asking me if I was going to retire. And I was like, what are you talking about? This is my time to really expand. I've had all of these experiences. I've gone from being a student, from being a doctor, from being a holistic doctor, from being a speaker, from being, and now I'm moving into being a healer. And also, I'll tell you the other time I got that spark was when we wrote our 2 books, Are Your Hormones Making You Sick? And The Stress Connection. When I was writing those books, it was just like I am now. I wake up every morning at 5 o'clock. I can't wait to turn my computer on to figure out how I am going to learn something and how I'm going to reconnect myself to my spirit and my purpose. And I put out this information, and I tell you, it doesn't. I should have turned my phone off. I'm sorry. Yeah. So let me turn my phone off. That's usually what I do, but I didn't do it today. All right. So let's go to this. All right. So energy crisis from metabolic dysfunction. Yeah, you're exhausted because something's not working right in your system. Okay. So low energy is not just a part of getting older. Hormone balance restores youthful vitality. And one thing is the female hormones or male hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. But another hormone is cortisol. And cortisol is your stress hormone. And when you are under an extended period of time, stress, that cortisol hormone either gets too high or it gets too low. And that's probably one of the major problems that I see with fatigue is that they've been under stress for so long and that cortisol has been high. And then it rebounds. And instead of going back to normal, it actually goes below normal. And then, so even though the stress is over, your fatigue is still there. So when you go through these multiple stressful events, it accumulates. And if you don't do something to try and repair that, to increase your energy, you're going to have a problem. So you need more rest and recovery. More rest and recovery is expected. Well, cellular health equals boundless energy. So how do you fix that cortisol? You've been through a stressful period, and we talked about that last time. You have to repair the damage caused by the stress. And to restore that cortisol curve, you need vitamin C, B5, B6, and you need NAD. and you can look up NAD, but NAD is a form of niacin, and that is the major ingredient in increasing energy. And that's depleted with age, and it's depleted with stress. So you can do it by getting NAD either orally or through an IV, or you have to restore it with those vitamins and minerals with what you eat. All right. Memory decline and brain fog come with aging. Well, the truth is that mitochondrial function, there's this energy power source in each cell called the mitochondria. And that's what's damaged by toxins, is what's damaged by poor rest and recovery. And there's ways to get that kick-started. One, you have to get the gunk out of the engine. So it's just like, a car engine. If you start to build up all of this gunk, the pistons, they slow down. Okay. So in this mitochondria, you got to get rid of the environmental toxins, the processed food, and even the bad negative thoughts actually decrease or disrupt mitochondrial function. So you have to restore that energy, because your brain and your heart uses the most energy 24/7. It's working. All right. So you have to have this basic source of energy. And when your energy is depleted, your brain's not going to be able to make those connections as fast. It's just like a computer. When it gets too much information, it doesn't have enough memory, it just slows down. It starts to spin. And a lot of times we think our brains spin like that because we don't have enough memory stored. So by building up your adrenal glands and restoring that cortisol, it rebuilds your energy levels. And we see it all the time. We have something, IV in our office called a super energy IV that has all of those ingredients in it. And we see it change cortisol curves, and we see that it changes the energy level of our patients. So once you understand physiology and you go back to the basics, you can solve a lot of these mysteries or problems, okay? So aches and pains slow you down naturally. Well, what's slowing you down and what's giving you the aches and pains is inflammation. And inflammation can be caused by foods that you eat. Inflammation can be caused by things in the environment. Inflammation can be caused by, things that you're exposed to. Okay. So you want to be able to decrease inflammation. And there's tests you can do called C-reactive protein that will tell you the amount of inflammation that you have. You can also do thermograms, and thermograms look at heat changes at the body. It's like what you see for night vision, is looking at heat. And so inflammation causes heat. So you can do a thermogram and you can look at heat in any part of the body. And you can do things to decrease inflammation, like anti-inflammatory foods, helping the bowels to eliminate toxins better, avoiding having constipation, where your body can reabsorb toxins. So you want to always have good gut health to make sure that your inflammatory processes are diminished. Okay. Medical professionals often reinforce this belief. Yeah, you go to the doctor and you have complaints. It's like, well, hey, what do you expect? You're getting older, so you should expect this to happen. You got to get out of that mindset. I don't have that mindset anymore. I don't ever tell people it's all a part of getting old. Now, can I do the things that I did when I was 20 or 25? No. But am I wiser than I was when I was 20 or 25? No doubt about it. Can I accomplish more now than when I was 20 or 25? Can I do it and expend less energy? Yes. That's what you want to do, is you want to be more productive, but you want to use or expend less energy. And the more aligned you are and the more balanced you are, things happen more naturally, because you are aligned with what you're supposed to do. You're loving what you're supposed to do. So you get aligned with it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is that like working smarter, not harder?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, and hopefully that's what you learn over the course of time. Okay. As you begin to expand, you begin to learn how to accomplish things with less effort and with less force. Because there's one thing in this, quantum physics, that the more you try to force things, the more you're going to have to force. Okay. It's like the more you do, you're going to get more of the same thing. So yeah, hopefully you start to learn to work smarter and not harder. All right. So, hey, if I'm gonna get through these slides, I got to keep going. But yeah, don't think that slowing down is natural. Okay. It's not. I mean, again, you don't want to go out and, try and challenge some 20-year-old in a basketball dunking contest. Okay. Even the professionals know better than to do that. But there are things that you can do that can even have more of an impact, because hopefully with experience you've gotten wiser. All right, so let's go to the next slide. All right, brain fog is inevitable, and that's not true. Oh, I'm old. I want to make sure I don't have Alzheimer's. We kind of kid about it because it's become so commonplace now. We think that our brain is supposed to slow down, but that's not the case. So if you feed your brain premium fuel, your brain requires specific nutrients to thrive. It needs omega-3 fatty acids. Your brain is like 60% fat. So if your mom called you a fathead, it wasn't an insult. She was really speaking the truth. Okay. But that fat is needed. That's how your brain works and it communicates. So antioxidants to keep down inflammation, because inflammation really affects the brain. And I give this analogy. When you have a cold or the flu, you're inflamed, and that, hey, it's difficult for you to think, it's difficult for you to eat, it's difficult for you to sleep because you're so uncomfortable and your brain is inflamed. Well, you can have this low level of inflammation that comes from foods that you eat or toxins, and you don't feel like you have a cold, but you have this low level of inflammation that gives you this fatigue. It gives you the aches and pains. It makes you unable to think clearly. So that's the kind of inflammation that we're talking about. And a lot of people don't understand that. That's why we do food sensitivity testing, because that's probably the number one hidden inflammatory. There's two types of food sensitivities. There's one where you eat shellfish or you eat a peanut and you have to go to the hospital because you have an anaphylactic reaction. That's what we call an immediate sensitivity. But you also have delayed sensitivities that are these low level ones and I think I explained this last week, that causes this low level of inflammation. And that's what you want to try and eliminate from your diet for a while you can repair the gut so it doesn't allow those toxins to come in. All right. So let's go with the slide. So you want to prioritize sleep. You want to repair neural pathways nightly. Quality sleep clears toxins and consolidates memories. So you want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep with consistent routines. A lot of times people have trouble going to sleep. Now hormones can do that. High levels of cortisol at night or low levels of progesterone in women at night can cause them to have difficulty going to sleep or staying asleep. But also you need to have good sleep routines. And those sleep routines means not looking at a lot of TV before you go to bed, getting rid of blue light. Actually, you want to have red light in your bedroom so that it matches sunset. All right. So in the morning, you should have sunlight, and then in the evening, you should have lights that resemble sunset. So those are some tips that may help you to sleep. So your brain thrives on novelty. Learning new skills and solving complex problems build cognitive reserve. The brain remains adaptable throughout life. So yeah, I'm learning all kinds of things. I tell you, I'm a YouTube fanatic. I'm a Gaia channel fanatic because I'm learning so much. And every morning I look at an episode of Mystery Teachings. And before I was looking at Inner Evolution, but it's teaching me all of these things about how to connect the spirit and how science is explaining the spirit. And so your brain likes learning. It likes new things. It likes new experiences, and it likes surprises. I'm gonna tell you, I went to Egypt, and now I know why I loved going to Egypt, because it was a new experience. I've never taken 3 weeks off. I've never been to a country that has so much history and so much inspiration in it. And because I let my wife plan it and I really didn't know what we were going to do, everything was a surprise. And so me and my wife was talking about how we were over there for 3 weeks and we never got tired because we were learning things and everything was a surprise. You walk in those temples, you're like, oh my God. So as much as you can fill your life with learning and surprising, it makes you ageless. All right. Is it time for a commercial?
So much information. I don't want to stop, but yes, we can go to a commercial.
Hey, all right. So it's a teaser. So look what the next slide says. Weight gain is unavoidable. Hey, you didn't know what I was going to say, but you're leading me right into this. So this is a perfect time to take a break, and then we'll go with myths 5, 6, and 7, and we'll end the show. Okay.
Sounds good. We'll be right back.
All right.
We are going to a quick break, so stay with us as we explore the Ageless Blueprint right here on W4HC Radio and Talk4 TV. An ancient secret with a modern twist for better health and vitality. Dr. Taylor will be right back. Taking care of your health shouldn't mean taking a handful of pills every day. At Taylor MD Formulations, they create doctor-developed supplements that combine the best natural ingredients so you get the results you need with fewer pills. Taylor MD Formulations is backed by science, designed for real life with real results. Less pills, better health, doctor approved. Shop now at TaylorMDFormulations.com and discover smarter supplements for smarter health. That's TaylorMDFormulations.com. We are back for more of Ageless Blueprint. Once again, let's join Dr. Taylor for more insights and research on the ancient secret to better health and a better life in modern times. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. So we have been talking about the first 4 myths of getting older, all right, or of longevity, or things that are making you age faster. So we want to slow down the aging process, and even if we could back it up a few years, that would even be better. So let's go to myth number 5. We have 7 myths, so we got 3 more to go. So Rebel asked about her waist expanding. So the other thing we think is that, as we get older, we're just supposed to gain weight. Well, I kind of had that thought in mind for a while, but then I figured out that that's not true. I'm not going to stand up, but I like the weight that I am. I'll tell you, during COVID, I gained 40 pounds. Okay. And I'm like everybody else. I just sat home and we ate, and, that's what we did. So I gained those 40 pounds. So after that, I finally got on the scale and saw how much I weighed. I'm like, okay, I got to change some things. So that's what I did. I changed my mindset and I changed what I was eating. And then I lost 20 of those pounds. And then through some other methods, and we can talk about later, I lost some more, but now I'm out of weight. I don't do anything. I have really kind of changed my mindset. I changed to a plant-based diet, and that has really helped me control my weight. And there's things you can do. I'm not telling you that that's the only diet. There's all these other diets, but the plant-based diet works best for me. So anyway, but let's look at this. Okay, over 70% of the time is hormonal, and now you can change your hormones by what you eat. If you decrease inflammation, it's going to decrease cortisol, and so cortisol can make you gain weight, because if your cortisol is high, you're mobilizing a lot of glucose, and if you're not using that glucose to run out of fight, it's going to be stored as fat. So hormones can do it. Now, estrogen increases fat deposition. It makes you hold on to fat. Now, as women get older, and this is my number one message that I've been talking about for 25 years, is that menopause is not caused by estrogen deficiency. It's not because you don't have enough estrogen. It's that your estrogen and progesterone is out of balance. So you have too much estrogen with the amount of progesterone that you're making. And so this estrogen stores more fat. So almost all menopausal women will tell you, I won't say all, but majority, maybe 70% will tell you that they started to gain weight after they went through menopause. And it's this shift in the hormones that did that. Also, it can be accumulated stress because by the time a person goes through menopause, they've had problems with finances and kids and husbands and all of these things. So all of this can lead to increase in weight as you get older. So faster metabolism with balanced hormones. So if we can look at the hormones of metabolism like thyroid and cortisol, and then also the sex hormones. And then also, now let me tell you what GLP-1s are. So GLP-1s are glucagon-like peptide. So really what they are doing is they are stimulating your own peptide, all right? It's called the, what did I just say? Glucagon-like peptide. So it is trying to stimulate your production of glucagon. Now, glucagon, what that does, it slows down stomach emptying so you feel full faster. It also drives glucose into the cell so that even though you're eating less, more glucose gets into the cell, so where it can be utilized. And that's how it decreases your hemoglobin A1C. And also it changes your mindset. Okay, it makes it where, and I'm just going to be honest with you, is that we offer the GLP-1s in our office because I understand that it is not, I don't think it's damaging physiology. It's actually helping you to enhance your own physiology. So I did those for about 6 months. It did all the things that I told you it would do. And now I haven't done it for a year and a half, because that type of eating and lifestyle has gotten ingrained in me. So that's the goal of those. It's not a goal to be a long-term process. It should make your habits change. And if you can maintain those habits, because I lost my taste of meat because I took the GLP-1. And so I continue to have lost my taste for meat. So, and for me, that works well. For somebody else, it may not work well. So I'm not advocating one thing or another, but I am saying that some people can use GLP-1s and it can be a great benefit to them long-term without necessarily staying on the GLP-1s. And even if you need to, we try to tell people, instead of once you get to your normal weight, we want you to stretch those out. Because I believe when people lose that weight, they get a new lease on life. And that's why I think it's a part of being ageless, is learning how to control your weight. Because once you gain a lot of weight, it slows you down and it increases inflammation. All right. Just excess fat increases inflammation. And we know inflammation is deadly. So I'm a proponent of using the GLP-1s, but I'm not a proponent of it being a crutch that you have to stay on for the rest of your life. All right. I don't believe anything should be like that. Is that once you get back in balance, you should be able to handle anything without any unnatural outside influences. All right. Any questions on that? I want to get that because people have these mixed opinions on GLP-1s, and that's just my opinion. You can have a different opinion, and when a patient comes in and says they don't want to do it, I want to make sure they totally understand it. Is that you always are weighing risk benefit. So if a person is 150 pounds overweight, then the risk of a GLP-1 is minuscule compared to being 100 pounds overweight or 40 pounds overweight. So now, if someone comes in and they're 5 pounds overweight, I'm not going to give them a GLP-1. I mean, give me a break. Okay. So you have to be reasonable in your decision making. And that's how I believe. So let me get through with this. All right. So aches and pains are a part of aging. That's not true either, because it's usually inflammation. Okay. I'm telling you, inflammation can kill you. Inflammation leads to heart disease. Inflammation leads to cancer. I'll tell you, you don't want to be inflamed and be exposed to cancer cells in your body, because that's just a fertile ground for cancer to spread. All right. So usually it's inflammation. So inflammation matters. Chronic inflammation through processed foods and toxins and stress, we keep, and all of it leads to stress. Reducing inflammatory triggers can decrease pain by up to 70%. So just changing your diet can decrease your inflammation. So you don't necessarily want to be taking Advil and all of these anti-inflammatories, because we know that that can damage your gut. And so we want to be able to handle inflammation as naturally as possible. The hydration heals. I mean, you need to think, you need lubricants, and water lubricates all of your joints so that that they can move freely. Okay, so you have to have some type of lubrication, and water is our lubrication. We're 70% water. So we need to make sure that we are well hydrated, and that's going to help with those aches and pains. That's why when you go to the gym, they tell you to keep drinking water, keep drinking water. When you go have a massage, they tell you to drink water, because it keeps toxins moving, and so they can flow out of your body. And movement is medicine. And I'll tell you, it is imperative, if you want to be ageless, is to keep moving. Once you lose your mobility, I'm telling you, it totally contracts your world. I'll tell you, don't go to Egypt if you're not mobile, okay? Because if you really want to see it, you have to bend down and you have to crawl into these caves and temples and everything. You have to climb these steps. So if you're going to go, you better go while you're still mobile. When you're not mobile, it contracts you. It decreases the amount of experiences that you can have. It limits how much you can expand. So by all means, stay mobile. And how do you do it? If you don't use it, you lose it. I have a routine of, I do a Kemetic yoga. So it's the yoga from ancient Egypt. And that's just my thing. Okay. Then I have this other routine where it's led by this Asian guy, and he says, if you don't move it, you lose it. So every morning you move your fingers, and then you move your wrists, then you move your elbows, and then you move your shoulders, and you move every joint in your body 9 times on one side, 9 times on the other side. And you'd be surprised. My back pain that I used to think, oh, it's just a part of getting old, was gone. I used to get up out of the bed and I said, oh man, my back would be here. I thought it was mattress, I'm getting cushions for the mattress, all this stuff. No, it's because I wasn't moving enough. Okay. So, and now my wife is, she's on her garden kick. So I go out there, man, I'm digging holes. I'm putting dirt. I'm moving. And the more I move, the more I can move. So you got to keep moving. All right. That's so important. And move with joy, dance, act stupid sometimes. Okay. You need to find joy in movement. My wife and I started taking ballroom dancing classes 10 years ago now. And so we move. Movement helps your brain to remain aware of where your body parts are. That's why dancing helps to know where your feet and your arms are without actually thinking about it. We enjoy ballroom dancing. When we go on our vacations, we do a lot of salsa dancing. And to be honest with you, it's really, we want people to see us when we're dancing and say, wow, oh, they really know how to dance. So it's a little bit of selfishness. We would see other couples when we go out and they would dance. We're like, we want to do that. And you just have to make a decision. Hey, I'm going to do that. So we expanded our lives by doing ballroom dancing. And that's a new experience, and we're learning something. And that's why I'm talking about being ageless. And you have to keep learning. Find something that excites you and learn everything you can about it. All right. So I think I have one more myth left, and we probably got 4 or 5 more minutes. All right. So your best days are behind you. I'm going to tell you the number one thing is to change your mindset. And so I stopped letting people talk to me about retiring. I'm like, give me a break. No, I'm not going to descend. I'm going to ascend. And I'm going to do a video about, that's what life is about. It's about ascending to different levels in what they call consciousness. All right, is to expand your outlook. So don't just look at what is the here and now. You need to expand your vision. It says, my people perish because of lack of vision. So I have all of these visions about what I want to do with this podcast, what I want to do with this school group, what I want to do with my family, what I want to do with my wife, where do I want to go? We keep thinking about new experiences, new things we can do, and that keeps us ageless. And you have to go out on a limb. This whole podcast, I've never done a podcast before. Hey, I'm 64. Okay, when I grew up, there was no such thing as a podcast. There were 3 stations: NBC, ABC, CBS. And if it didn't come through those stations, there was no way for you to get information other than one-on-one. So I had to take a leap of faith to say that I can do this. Now, you may look at this and say, well, maybe you shouldn't have taken that leap. Maybe it's not so good. Hopefully that's not the case. But I'm going to tell you, it excites me. And if no one else listens, I'm listening to myself. Okay. So a lot of times when you're teaching somebody else or trying to give somebody else information, you learn something. Okay. So my mindset is always expanding. So you want to guard against stressors that accelerate aging. Yes, I'm trying to eat right so that I don't age. I'm trying to keep my mind open so that I don't age. Let me tell you, a lot of my mentors, I think I've said this before, are these young people who are teaching me how to do a podcast, and they're teaching me how to use this new technology. ChatGPT is teaching me things. I tell you, if you want to learn something, you go on this and you can learn all kinds of things. YouTube is teaching me things. All right. Cellular repair accelerated through lifestyle. Yes. So how do you repair yourself? Well, it's through lifestyle, eating right, avoiding stressors, taking away toxins, and living your purpose with boundless energy. And I hope you can see that in me, is that I feel like my purpose is to get this information out. And I know there's other people doing this, but there's a certain audience that's going to be attracted to what I have to say. And that's all I'm looking for, because, I know there's other people out there, but there's a certain group of people that I know I'm supposed to communicate with. And I'm doing it through here. I'm doing it through YouTube. I'm doing it through every medium possible. I'm expanding my outreach. I knew I felt constrained in my little office, and I needed a way to get out. I needed a way to expand. And so this is that effort. And I'm so happy that you are being a part of this with me. So Rebel, I know it's almost time to go. If we have any questions or whatever, but please don't let these myths allow you to or cause you to age faster. If you can take away some of these, or you can believe the truth about these myths, then you're going to start to feel ageless. All right. And it's a great feeling, believe me. So I hope you start to take these steps or take these leaps forward, and just continue to learn and continue to be surprised. All right. So I think that's it for us, right? Right, Rebel?
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
People need to know that it's a mindset. It seems if you could tell your mind and believe your mind, that's what you're going to do.
yeah. Hey, your mind can make you well, and your mind can make you sick. I'm actually doing a video. I'm doing some videos on all this. Is your mind making you sick? Are your relationships making you sick? Are your medications making you sick? Is your environment making you sick? Are your hormones making you sick? There's all of these things that can cause you to age or make you sick. And we want to take away all of those causes of aging. All right. So I'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. I know it's time to sign off. And again, I'm the Spiritual MD, and please join our Ageless our school group. Look at our podcast wherever you get podcasts. It's called the Ageless Blueprint podcast. So all of those links should be down below when you log on to the podcast. All right. So I'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining Dr. Taylor today. If you missed any part of this show, Just check out the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Ageless Blueprint is every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on W4HC Radio at W4HC.com. Together, we discover the ancient secrets to better health through science and spirituality made for modern times. Until then, feel free to check out agelessblueprintpodcast.com and taylormdformulations.com for more information.
Hey, so how